You become like a smaller solar system hovering around the larger solar system, like other little planets around the sun, who keeps growing and growing in their influence, collecting more and more energy from their students. One of the things that I didn't know for a long time, and that truly transformed my life, was coming to an understanding that this world is somewhat like a huge farm of energy, constantly ebbing and flowing in and out of energy transference. And every single day, the things that you pay attention to, the things that you're focusing on, are the things that you are putting your energy into, whether you want to be doing that or not, whether you know you're doing that or not. And these things drain you. And the thing is that we are like batteries, and we can generate energy, we can transmute energy, pass it on. But the thing is that we only typically generate so much. And this differs a little bit between people and genders, but it is something that a lot of people don't take into account. When you're focusing and you're giving your attention to things, if that person has you fixated on them, and that could be for a negative thing, this person's bothering you and you're thinking about them a lot, but what you don't notice is that this person is energetically draining you. So again, it comes to when you have one pointed concentration and the capability to keep your willpower strong over your mind, then it becomes a lot easier to control these energetic projections. This is one of the main achievements within many of the occult practices themselves. Many cultures around the world emphasize of the importance of meditation. And although people have different opinions and understanding of the importance of meditation and its purpose, a lot of people tend to not understand that the importance of it is mainly, although there's many benefits towards building spiritual fire within oneself and helping one create willpower and discipline, it helps with that. But mainly what it's for is to be able to build that one-minded concentration, so that when you want to put your mind into something and be fully concentrated, nothing can overthrow that against your willpower. And that is true magic in itself. Your concentration, your attention is extremely powerful. And in the afterlife state, if you're unable to control yourself in this state, your body will randomly combust in two directions. And that's why many occultists practice to be able to gain control on the astral plane. For many of you, when you're dreaming at night, you might notice that you don't have control, maybe a little bit of control, but for the most part, you don't have conscious control over the events that are taking place and what you're doing in your dreams. And so you randomly combust into different areas, or the dream doesn't make sense and things are just kind of randomly pulling you around. Putting an emphasis on the importance of concentration, you can see how many things easily distract you. More and more so in the day of technology, things are really built to constantly be absorbing your attention, because that's worth something to these tech companies, right? Your attention is money. Your attention, your thoughts, they're valuable. Your attention is currency exchange, your energy. Leading into why that really ties into the potential dangers of spiritual teachers, or even the potential dangers of getting lost in the admiration of your muse. because that plays an archetypal role of danger as well. So when an occultist begins to become really successful in their practice, the main thing that they're doing energetically, knowingly or unknowingly, is basically becoming their own planet, sort of, say, like a big sun, okay? And the more yang energy the occultist begins to absorb from other people that are paying them attention, the more powerful they become in all senses. Now, there's different stages through this initially, but we're not going to get into that here. So the occultist is basically building their astral temple. And what happens when a person is solely depending on somebody else for knowledge, and more specifically here, for spiritual knowledge? Now, there can be energetic dangers for both men and women, but much more commonly and more specifically for women a lot of the times. And that's due to the fact that a lot of women end up, especially spiritually inclined women that seek spiritual knowledge and growth end up being with a man who has no spiritual aspiration whatsoever. And so she's still going to crave that yang source, because the yang is the teaching. She's going to crave that somewhere else. And that can leave her in a vulnerable position. It really leaves anyone in a vulnerable position, because placing yourself in a position where you become completely dependent or reliant upon your spiritual teacher or your guru for all of your spiritual knowledge and gnosis, then you're putting yourself in a position of submission towards this person. You are deficient of your own connection to that cosmic flow of knowledge that each and every person can tap into, because the real guru is inside you. Now, that's not to say that I'm discouraging anybody from inquiring knowledge from other people. No. Although, what I am saying is that there comes a time where you can ingest so much information, but you need to step away from your teacher at one point, right? You need to step away from your teacher and build up your own experience and your own gnosis. Because there is a very real difference between understanding something with your mind, but then fully ingesting that thing and experiencing it, and that creates gnosis. So what would happen if, you don't step away from your guru and you become completely reliant upon them? They begin draining you. This is very beneficial for them, of course, because you become like a smaller solar system hovering around the larger solar system, like other little planets around the sun, who keeps growing and growing in their influence, collecting more and more energy from their students. A real teacher is never going to put you into a position where you have to be completely reliant on them. They are going to encourage you to pursue your own experiences and tap in to the inner guru. Think about it like this. Perhaps you wanted to be a famous musician and you had a certain idol or somebody that you looked up to. Maybe you were a little kid. That could have been one of the initial reasons you became so inspired to become the musician yourself. Although instead of taking the time to work hard and practice and perfect the craft, you instead just tried to mimic and sound like your muse. And it's okay to have people that you look up to and realize what energies inspire you within other people. But there is something very special and unique within you. You have your own specific contribution. And instead of trying to mimic other people's uniquely carved out contributions, right? We instead almost dissolve ourselves to become like them. And it happens many times with artists, whether they're singers or whatnot, where you're so compared to somebody else, and then they're never their own entity and compared for the rest of their lives to this other person, because that person's energy was so strong and overpowering for that person, it completely almost like sucked them into their universe. So that is the sort of energetic play that takes place here if we're not careful. And that muse that we had looked up to, most of the time, they were tapping into their inner genius. They tapped in, they took the time to isolate and really consume their own energy and transmute their own energy, that they created such a work of art that imprinted the whole world, right? And this sort of thing is so energetically abundant and attractive to us that it has the capability to do such a thing on a person's mind. Again, fixation, concentration, and energetic exchange taking place. So it is very possible for spiritual practitioners of all kinds to, build their astral temples to a very powerful point, and they can have more and more people within this temple, basically making their temples stronger, much more powerful. I don't want to make this video too long, so I just wanted to wrap it up about speaking about the spiritual guru that becomes a mantrika. So a mantrika is known as a male wizard, basically, but he is one who's very powerful on the astral plane, and he can basically start to use his students or disciples, sort of say, to do work for him astrally and collect more energy for them. And most of the time they use women. They can use men, but women are definitely the ones that are victims of this more often. And most people have no idea that this is happening to them. So it's something to stay very conscious of, because there's a lot of people, I think, within the spiritual community have no idea that this can occur, that this takes place. I'm just putting this out here to benefit anybody that might be affected by this and they don't realize it. So my advice to you is you need to focus on becoming your own sun. That is very important. You have your own path here, and it's very important that you recall what exactly that is, what your contribution here is. And there is possibility for you to get sidetracked into somebody else's. Now, the way you know something is draining you is when you are giving energy to that thing and it is not giving you anything back. Right? So that is an energetic exchange in which it's not exchanging, it's only going one way. So that's a tell sign to know. So if you have people in your life that are constantly, calling you up, it's all about them. Many things drain us in our life, whether that be the TV shows we like, the internet, anything that we are providing our attention to, we are worshiping, and anything we are giving our attention to is predominantly what we get back. And it is our responsibility to develop self-control over the mind in this way and become responsible for who and what we're letting drain our energy. So I'm running out of storage like always. I'll be back very soon. Wishing you a beautiful night wherever you are in the world.